in '95 when we didn't win a game, I always felt like I personally felt like we went into games we had a chance to win, that sort of didn't come to fruition and we get smashed. There's a lot of games where I think we averaged a 12-goal losing margin each week.
The club in that particular year was in a bad way, it didn't win a game.
It was obviously tough not winning games and not having success on the field, but in some strange way it really brought that playing group together.
One of the Christiansens was the coach, and he finished with about 5-6 rounds to go. And so Glenn Murphy and I, coached the last 4 or 5 games.
Start of each game, there was always that feeling that this could be the day, and there was a couple of close games where I think there was a game out at Springvale where we were really close one down a wet boggy game. But yeah, it was dark times.
It was frustrating, but even the fans and the off-field staff and everyone like that was all in it together, and at no stage can I remember, any of the people sort of on the sidelines bagging players or having a crack at us for not having a goal or anything like that.
I'd taken over as president at the end of that year because I was only 28 or something, but I just thought, I'm going to have a go at trying to fix this. And Hannah came back and a few of the other guys who have been around, Roundy, and there was a good crew of us, Johnny Grieve and all those guys came back on the board. It was the first appointment I made, I appointed Kaz as the general manager.
So I got a phone call from Swanee saying, I want you to be the new full-time general manager of the football club. I didn't have to be asked twice. I resigned that day and started work at Willie within 2 weeks.
And we literally had no money. He got us a bingo game up at, there's some great stories about that. We had a bingo game at Altona North and we'd all roster on a Saturday night, which, up we'd go and do the bingo, and Roundy was famous. He'd come in with a little bag with half a dozen stubbies.
Extra, read all about it. All over for the VFA, read all about it.
And it was the time of the rationalisation. There'd been a big review from the VFL or AFL, and they were trying to align the clubs with the TAC clubs, and there was only one TAC club in the West, which obviously was the Western Jets. And so they, and because we'd had such a bad year and whatever, they gave that licence to Werribee and not Williamstown.
The Williamstown Footy Club was going to fold. They were touting it as a merger with Werribee, although everybody knew it was effectively going to be a takeover.
We were pushed into merging with Werribee. That was what the VFL wanted. And there's a famous meeting which probably saved the footy club in retrospect.
Willie had been, if you like, ousted from the competition, and also I was informed very quickly about how the merger talks had resulted in about a 3-minute meeting. It was like 2 rival bikie gangs meeting halfway at some place in Laverton.
So we went down there and we were going down to effectively merge. 4 games at Willie, 5 games at Werribee. Have an alternate strip. We'd play in the Willie jumper. So we went down. We pretty well thought out plan. We thought it was reasonable. We weren't happy about it, but that was the way we were being pushed. And we got down there, and they started off by saying, we're happy to merge. We'll be called Werribee. We'll play all our games at Werribee, and we'll be called, we'll wear the Werribee jumper. And it was like, oh, okay, that's the way you want to play it, is it? So it's fair to say it was a pretty tense meeting, and we didn't storm out or anything, but we just, it was just the arrogance and the attitude of when it finished, we stood outside and said, right, the gloves are off.
And I think the last game of the year, Kim Walsh and everyone else had organised a community day, and they got a great crowd there at Willie, and even though the side got done by 20 goals, Swanee said to me, if we can get a couple of thousand people here when we're absolutely shithouse, and we can't get within 20 goals of Werribee, this is worth fighting for.
Anyway, about 3 months later, they had another vote and we won 8-0. We were back in and Werribee were out. So that was, you remember things in life. I lived down on the range in those days, and when that verdict came out, it was say 10 o'clock at night. I wandered out with my dog and I was just sort of standing in the street looking up like this thinking, we've done it. And we did. We came back from the brink. We played Werribee the last game the year before and they beat us by like 30 goals, 25, 30 goals. And we had all the turmoil in the off-season. We requested to play in first game down at Willie.
And I think people knew it was going to be on. And I suppose there was no trial by video then, and you just knew it was a bit more old time where there was going to be last man standing sort of affair.
Unfortunately, I got reported in the first quarter. It's the only time I've been reported in my career. Fair hit, I thought, or was it just a hip and shoulder trying to shepherd for somebody?
That's just all the attitude we went out. I suppose we were challenging Werribee. They were dirty on us because they'd been kicked out of the comp after Williamstown had been given the nod.
Just making a stand and saying, you know, that we weren't going to accept the mediocrity and the lack of success. We weren't going to stand for being taken over or merging with Werribee.
The game I remember most playing for Williamstown, we ended up playing finals later in the year, but that one game, in terms of emotion and also the end of the game.
It's still one of my favourite days of football ever, and I suppose that day, one of my happiest days ever.
Personally, going through 95 and losing every game, and then to win that game and be coming off the ground arm in arm with the rest of the players, and not everybody played through 95. Obviously, we had a whole heap of new players come in, but there was the players that were there knew what it meant, and the players that had been through 95, it was like winning a grand final. It was just amazing to walk off.
The scenes in the rooms that night, or after that game, you probably wouldn't see it now, where there's probably about 8 slabs carried in, everyone's necking cans. We sang the song that loud. It was the old rooms where, I don't know how we didn't knock the wall down between us and Werribee. I still remember seeing the look on somebody's face and, if you like, the intent as everyone sang the song. I suppose it was like justification for having the fight, if you like, winning the fight to survive, and then getting a result against an arch enemy.
If you look back, if Werribee had have agreed to the merge, we would have merged. That was the decision at the time. So you look back now and think, thank God we never did that, or thank God they were a bunch of pricks, because,